So before we go any further with this video, your instructions are, if you don't have a grapevine at home, go buy a grapevine, plant it, water it, nurture it, tend it, learn how to prune it, and when it starts bearing fruit, then come back and watch the rest.
A few moments later.
Just 2 more years to go. They're never coming back. Obviously, that's not possible. You're not going to wait 3 or 4 years before you come back and watch the rest of this video. But honestly, if you don't have a grapevine at home, you should go get one, because learning how to prune the vine and even just seeing somebody else do that work in the vineyard, honestly, it's almost like having a fifth gospel on hand. Like the meaning that is drawn out of the images that Jesus uses to describe our relationship with Him, who He and the Father and the Spirit are, and who we are in Him, is just incredible. So this weekend we hear about the parable of the vine and the branches, and the Father is the vine grower. And the reality is, Jesus really alludes to these images of pruning the vine for the sake of bearing more fruit, just pruning the vine in general, and the reality that we as the branches need to be attached to Jesus, right? So just talking about pruning in general, right? When somebody's pruning the vine, they might do so for various reasons, I already mentioned, so that it would bear more fruit. If you take out some of the excessive growth, you can direct the sap of the vine to a particular area of the vine, to just a couple of branches, and so more fruit is born on those branches than would be if you just let it grow wild. But as well, sometimes the branches get diseased and they need to be pruned as well, so that the disease does not spread to the other branches. And so you would lose the entire vine. And when all of these prunings are collected, they're thrown into the fire. Why? In part so that that disease can't spread to other places in the vineyard, right? So Jesus prunes so that the vine may bear more fruit, and prunes to preserve the good branches on the vine, right? And those are experiences in our lives as well, even in our individual lives of faith. We get pruned along the way. Sometimes we're in need of pruning to cut out some parts of our lives that are preventing God from bearing fruit in our lives of faith. Really, those things are sucking the life out of our faith at times, and so we may need pruned, and ask the Lord's assistance to help us to zero in on and let faith be the thing that permeates the rest of our growth and our life. As well, sometimes we may have people in our lives, or just areas of our life that we need to just be done with, so that it doesn't disease the rest of our branch, if you will. But ultimately, Jesus talks about remaining in Him, right? As He is in the Father and the Father is in Him. And how do we remain in Him? If apart from Jesus we can do nothing, how do we remain in Him? We don't want to be cut off from the vine and thrown in the fire, right? So, ultimately, we get some insight to that from the reading from the letter of St. John, right? To remain in Jesus, to remain in God, is to keep His commands. And His command above all is to love one another. This isn't love as a feeling. In particular, He is saying this is to love like God loves, to love like Jesus does on the cross, to sacrifice of ourselves for the sake of the good of other people, right? That's the love that God is calling us to, and that's the love that Jesus says keeps us united to the vine. So every time we make a sacrifice for another, every time we're inconvenienced, every time we say yes to something that we're not entirely sure how we're going to get it done, but we're putting ourselves out there, Jesus gives us whatever is necessary for that growth and the fruit to be born in our lives and in the lives of other people. So to remain in Jesus, to be connected to the vine, to be a branch that bears good fruit, really is to make a sacrifice of ourselves to others And that's not to ignore the necessity that we have of prayer and the sacraments. Those are all ways that we need to remain in Jesus. But in this particular collection of readings, what he's getting at is to lay down our lives like Jesus did and does for the life of his people, is to remain in him and to bear great fruit on the vine that he is.